2013 was a bit of a big year for games. The 8th generation of consoles came out with the PS4 and Xbox One, some of the most loved and critically acclaimed games released like The Last of Us, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Bioshock Infinite. And Troy Baker appeared in the same role twice that year. Now, I don't know about you guys, but 2 Troy Bakers? That's a lot of Troy Bakers. So yeah, definitely a busy year for video games. But amidst all this traffic, all this jam, all the 2 Troy Bakers, a small video game managed to slip by and come out next to all these big events. A game with a lot of style. A game that not only deserves a seat next to all those 2013 releases, but also one that I would gladly recommend to pretty much anyone out there. Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Developed by Techland and released in May of 2013, Call of Juarez is best described as a Western FPS where you hunt down all the infamous outlaws of the West. It's one of those games that you can easily pick up at any time and have a good time, because it doesn't overstay its welcome and it's extremely simplistic. You can basically beat the game in roughly 3 to 4 hours, give or take. Even the 100% completion doesn't take that long, with around 14 hours only for a 100% completion. Let that sink in. Now, the thing is, if I wasn't clear before, I'll say it again. I really like this game. A pick up and play classic, I like to call it. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I like it that much, but I want to start with what makes it stand out in my opinion.
Don't believe so. I haven't been here in many years. Name's Silas Greaves.
The story of Call of Juarez Gunslinger is surprisingly unique. When I first played it, I went in thinking that I'll just get a quick fun Wild West game that gets me to meet all the Wild West legends and then I'll leave. Now, if I just got that alone, it would have been enough, because that's what I asked for. However, the game had more to offer. The thing that I didn't expect is how the devs tackled the narrative. See, the way a writer tells a story is often as important, sometimes even more important than what the story is about. Now again, the story in itself is pretty decent, but the way it is told is what really makes it so good and unique. Now, let me lay that story onto you. You play as Silas Greaves, a bounty hunter of legends that just happened to stop by an old saloon to get a drink. Immediately being recognized as that legendary bounty hunter Silas Greaves himself, a young man by the name of Dwight offers to buy our protagonist his drink as he sits down with the folks gathered around him and he starts telling the tales of the Old West. Except they're all from his memory and his perspective, which you are going to be playing. And here's where it gets interesting. You see, while Silas is telling his stories, he keeps lying about things while also changing other things as he is telling them. The funny thing is that he gets constantly called out for his bullshit during the game.
Well, son, there had to be at least 100 Apaches surrounding me.
100?
God be my witness.
Oh, come on. Who you kidding?
And what's nice is when he corrects himself or changes anything within the story, set changes immediately transfer into gameplay. For example, early on in the game, Silas says that he gets attacked by a bunch of Apache warriors out of nowhere, and so you fight some Apache warriors. But then the game stops, and a character called Jack says,
Were you attacked by Apaches? What happened to the cowboys?
to which Silas replies,
Did I say they were Apaches? I said Clanton's cowboys attacked me Apache style.
and there you go. It works. It actually works perfectly. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Ludo-narrative harmony. A bit hard to nail and not done that quite often. The game is practically all told in the same way. Sometimes Silas says that suddenly a path appeared right in front of him, and so that happens in gameplay. Other times he says that he killed Butch Cassidy when everybody knows that he didn't do it, and so he gets called out for it at the end. The mission where you hunt down the Daltons is probably one of my favorites because you get to play it in 3 ways. That being how Ben, the guy behind the bar, remembers it, what Dwight read in the dime novel,
You read that in a dime novel?
and how Silas tells it. The thing is, each character tells the story in a completely different way than the other, and it's such a good approach to storytelling. Like, what can I say? It just works. I also like the fact that at the end you manage to catch up with one of the Daltons, Emmett, and you fight him as an extremely tanky boss and you start wondering like why this guy of all people. But once you defeat him, Ben explains something.
But Emmett Dalton survived the robbery in Coffeyville. He's the only Dalton who did.
They say he was shot 23 times.
Well, Dwight, who do you think put all those damn holes in him?
And it turns out that that's exactly why he was so goddamn tanky. It's because it was connected to real life events where he was shot 23 times. Ludo narrative harmony. Isn't it beautiful? So, for a short story, this game has a lot going for it. But that must be it, right? Wait, hold your horses. No, there's more to the story. The story still has one more topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time now. As it turns out, Call of Juarez Gunslinger is actually a revenge story. Now, you might think that this is a bad thing considering how many revenge stories we've all seen by now, but it's the complete opposite.
My own brothers died tragically as well, truth be told.
The whole journey of Silas Greaves is centered around him getting revenge on the men that killed his brothers. He even says that's one of the main reasons why he became a bounty hunter in the first place. Now I think it's a fairly good revenge story because it has a drive and it successfully made me also want to find that S.O.B.B.O.B.
Bob.
and put a bullet in his head. However, what makes it masterful in my opinion is not only does Silas find Bob as a completely different person now, Ben, the guy behind the bar, but that the developers also snuck in this option here. You know, without it, I think it would be just an alright ending, but because of this option, I ended up waiting on the screen for a while, thinking of what should I do. And I actually ended up reconsidering and sparing Bob at the end, despite there being barely any redeemable characteristics to him. It reminds me a lot of that one moment in Grand Theft Auto 4 where you find the guy that killed all of Nico's friends, and it was such a highlight of the game's story for the same reason why this ending is so memorable. I think the addition of that option, sparing a character, is nice simply because it's thought-provoking and it goes to show that giving the option of sparing somebody is just more interesting, as it might trigger something inside the player. I mean, the achievement percentage speaks for itself. Plus, the redemption option does explain itself pretty well. Developers, please do give us that option. It's nice and it's thought-provoking, and I like it. And then I killed him on my second playthrough. Alright, now we talked about the story. Well, what about the gameplay, the collectibles, world, art direction, music, all that stuff? Well, it comes as no surprise that all these elements are tip-top. The combat in this game is again simplistic. If you've played any first-person shooter that came out around 2010, then you'll feel right at home. Obviously though, that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's actually great. The arcadey feel along with the ability to slow down time and dodge bullets are exactly why I kept coming back to this game even after 5 playthroughs. Oh, and the gunplay. The gunplay itself I think is really nice. Every weapon feels satisfying to shoot with, and I never felt like I don't want to use a certain weapon. I mean, look at this. Come on, don't tell me this doesn't look fun. Everything about the art direction is brilliant in my opinion. The drawn still images that appear as cutscenes, the comic panels that introduce each character, the use of cell shading, it's all beautiful to look at, and it adds a lot of charm to the game. It also makes the game age excellently well. This game is almost 10 years old and I would say it still looks as good as the day it came out. Okay, let me say this. If dying sounds fun in a video game, then it's safe to say that everything sound related is going to be perfect. The sound of shots ricocheting and going by your head, bullets dropping, cylinders spinning and heads exploding really gives that sweet immersion. Hell, even the main menu has probably one of the best main menu themes in any game. The main menu is not the only time you'll be taking it all in. There's one moment in the game that's very similar to that of Red Dead Redemption's Far Away, and let me tell you, it is so good. It comes out of nowhere and it is like... yeah. Point is, everything sound related does its job very well, and it makes my cowboy fantasy truly come true. Call of Juarez Gunslinger also has some pretty good collectibles, the Nuggets of Truth. If you choose to collect them, you get these descriptions on some nice cowboy history, and I think it's neat. I learned all about Doc Holliday, Jesse James, John Wesley Hardin, the OK Corral shootout, and Dwight being the same Dwight Eisenhower, all through the Nuggets of Truth. Plus, I mean, they give XP. Oh damn, I forgot to talk about XP and leveling. Okay, while simplistic, the skill system plays a huge role in making the game more fun. And that is by adding a reason for the player to improve. See, with each kill, your combo meter builds up, and the more it builds up, the higher the amount of XP you get. Headshots, long shots, and explosive kills also give you more XP and further incentive the player to play better. That XP can then level you up to earn a skill point, which can then be used inside the skill tree. You know, it's pretty standard stuff, but can't live with them, can't live without them. Okay, now I might have sucked this game off for a bit too much, but honestly it's within good reason. I can only think of one flaw in the game. It's not even game breaking or mildly annoying or anything, but boss fights. That is, if you even wanna call them boss fights. They're basically normal enemies but with more health. And while yes, fighting Emmett was nice with the whole story connecting and all that, the other ones are pretty bare bones. Some of them can be beaten simply by standing still and throwing dynamite in one direction. There's not much else to say really. You could have done better, Techland. You could have done better.
Well, I don't know about you boys, but I'm pretty beat.
Overall, it's hard not to love this game. Sure, it might be short, and sure the gameplay might be a bit simplistic, but honestly, those are considered good things in my book. It's part of the charm of the game, all killer, no filler type of game, you know? And again, the ludo-narrative harmony, the way the story is told, the style of the game, all these aspects are really what makes me hold this game in such high regard. So, if you like the Wild West, play this game. If you like spinning your repeater, play this game. If you like dueling Old West legends, play this game. It is really, really, really good. And if you've already played it, then play the Shield the game.
Looky what I found.